Greetings, everybody. Most people know me as Clashing with God. Others know me as Truckin' Mike. And I'm here today to talk about the state of California's psych eval, or AKA exposed firearms assessment test. Um, in this particular case, me and my wife have both decided we wanted to open or carry exposed while we're doing our security work versus being unarmed security guards. One, it pays more. Two, I feel that it's better protection in a more detrimental way, so we don't feel helpless. Let's put it that way. However, me being of sound mind and psychologically thinking that I'm fit, apparently I was proven wrong today. I went ahead and took the psych eval because I went ahead and took the class. It's a 2-day class for exposed firearms, where the first day is lecture and simulated training of different scenarios where you may or may not need to pull your gun. And after each scenario, you spend probably about 20 minutes talking about that specific scenario and decide whether you needed to pull that gun and shoot that person, or did you need to pull the gun and stop the threat, aka point at them, say, hey, stop, get down, etc. Or were you able just to bring your hand up and say, hey, put the gun down, or stop where you are, etc. No problems at all. It's a really good class. Second day is firearms handling, and then the last part of the day is qualification, where you actually did target practice. You had to do, I believe, a minimum of 200 out of 250, so you're able to shoot. You're able to miss up to 10 shots outside the dark black silhouette, which looks easy, but it's not as easy as that looks. Tough situation. 2 days. Technically, they said they put 15 days into 2 days, 2 8-hour days. I think they did really well on their training, and they got you thinking where you would have never thought before. Let's put it that way. Now, anyhow, get back to the situation. Both me and my wife applied for the exposed firearms. We both took the course. We both got the certificate of completion. And while we were there, they asked if we wanted to do our background check and fingerprints there. The fact that they want us to do the psych eval first, I told my wife, well, let's hold off on this. Let's do the psych eval first. Once we pass that, nope, I said once we pass that, then at that point, we'll continue to the second part, which is the background check, and the third part, submitting all the documentation and filing fees for BSIS to get our exposed arm license. We went there today because she didn't want to take the test at the same time as me. So we went there today, and I was going to take the test and give her follow-up on what I experienced. And I was watching Citizen Edge, and there was a gentleman who apparently failed, but it took him 3 to 6 months before he got the notification in the mail stating that he failed. And I was like, ooh. So I thought maybe I was just going to, take the test, and they'll give me a certificate stating that I took the test, etc., and it would be submitted, and I filed that with my firearms permit application. Well, I didn't know, first of all, that you were supposed to take the test first, okay? And then at that point, if you planned on doing that, while I was in class, that's when they notified us that as of January 1st of this year, they changed it from being the psychological exam at the end of the course and after you submitted everything, or everything else, I should say. Then they were supposed to send you a link to go to take the psychological evaluation. Now, apparently, after a bunch of uproar, because it can cost you anywhere from $600 to maybe $1,500 just to get to that point. And the PSI firearms assessment test now costs $100 and is non-refundable, whether you pass or not. Well, I went ahead and went in today. I was the only one scheduled. My wife hasn't scheduled. She passed the qualification. She did everything else. She was good. Now she's afraid to take the test. after what happened to me. Okay. I've been in security since 1989. I've been in various forms of security, patrol officer, loss prevention, management, training supervisors, etc., site supervisors, and multiple positions. I've seen all kinds of things happen. I've seen people getting mugged. I've seen cars getting broken into. I've seen mobs of people rioting in my site, and etc. And each time was a stressful situation. At no time did I feel that I needed a gun. So I already knew for a fact that not every situation requires you to pull your gun every time just because you're an armed guard. So that psychology in me, I know I'm not. My goal is to have the gun at my side, but never need to use it. Never. It's a deterrent, pretty much. People see the gun, they know that if they tried to rob the place, hey, you know what? They might end up doing the asphalt challenge, as they call it. But only if, they try to pull the gun or they try to shoot me. Otherwise, if they're shoplifting, I ain't going to pull a gun on them. Ain't no reason to. California already has a law saying you can actually take up to $950. I'm not going to sit there and try to shoot a guy over that. And even if it was more, the worst thing I'm going to do is actually get his description, give it to the police and the manager, see if I can get a car license plate for him. So right now, the only reason why they need that information is so that, one, they file a report of theft, and then they submit that report to their insurance so that they can get at least partially reimbursed from the insurance. And of course, when the insurance goes up, our food prices go up, part of inflation. Now, with that being said, let's get back to the psych test. I found something very interesting in it. And I first heard this from his Citizen Edge. Shout out to you, bro. You're the best. I don't care what everybody else says. I like what you posted, man. You're a great person. I'm a nobody. If you look down at all my videos, I probably got like 5, 10, 50. I'm not really a streamer, as you would put it. I do most of my streaming on Twitch. Once in a while, I'll post junk here. But this one here is strictly for Citizen Edge. If you want, you can actually cut out parts of my videos where I'm talking about different subjects so that you don't have to play this whole thing throughout your thing. Or you can do what they classify as a react video. I don't care. You can use any part of it. There's no music, nothing before it, because I don't want no copyright strikes. I don't want anything to risk the video being taken down. Also, I did sign a disclosure statement, which everybody does. You have to read it carefully. It is a disclosure statement, meaning I cannot talk about the exact questions that are on the test. I'm not allowed to take it out. I'm not allowed to reproduce it in any way. So I can talk vaguely about it, but I can't give you the exact questions. Let's put it that way. That's what all the other other YouTubers said. And I have to say the same thing. That's a disclaimer, unfortunately, because of that. And there's probably a good reason for it, because when you find out what the frickin' A is going on with those questions, it'll make you question life. And like, how is this a psychological questionnaire for gun safety or the FireArms Assessment, exposed firearms, that is? Because maybe some of the questions might have been indirectly related to it, but not in no way was none of the questions related to anything to do with the firearm itself and the handling it and the psychological evaluation of how you handle that particular firearm in different situations. You're going to be on the job. 2 areas where they may or may not have psychological evaluations on your job performance is, number 1, talking about daydreaming versus doing something constructive. I understand that part. Second part is bending the rules on the job they stress without breaking them. A lot of those questions do not have a right answer, even though at the beginning of the test they said there's no right or wrong answers. If there was no right or wrong answers, I'm 100% sure I probably would have passed and I wouldn't have gotten this. Let's get this See that right there? Results did not demonstrate. You did not demonstrate that you possess the appropriate judgment, restraint, and self-control for the purposes of carrying and using a firearm during the course of your security guard duties. Okay, that's where they sign it. The firearms assessment results are provided to the Bureau the day after you have completed the assessment. Pursuant Business Professions Code section blah, blah, you may complete another assessment. Note on here, it didn't say where I failed. That particular assessment part right there simply tells me that in 180 days, I can reapply and retake this test. That's 6 months. So technically, I'm not allowed to carry a firearm with me while I'm there. But no. None of the questions were directly related to firearms. Not mentioned any. The closest two things that came to it was one, daydreaming. And where I assess that is complacency. If you get complacent on the job, bad things will happen. Thus, when it talks about daydreaming, that's what I was thinking. No, psychologically, they may not have meant that. However, that's how I read that. So whenever it talked about daydreaming, I said no. I'd rather do something constructive. Second part was bending the rules. Okay. Now, the bending the rules, I understand. Without breaking them, and they did it 4 different ways. Worded 4 different ways. Same question, 4 different ways. Okay. But every single time they stressed in bold letters without breaking the rules. So, I think that part right there is the part where the entire test resides on, is talking about breaking rules. The reason why I say that is because there's no right answer, and because I didn't agree with either of the answers they gave me, I put the question mark. Yes, it's a 3-answer question, but one of the questions, and I'm going to use my middle finger for this for a second, is a question mark. And this is what I think they're doing to you when they give you that kind of a question. That's just my personal opinion. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't know what being an artist versus being a construction worker has anything to do with firearms or this particular type of field. I don't see how a cat is to a kitten as to a dog is to a, and then you say puppy. Duh. What does that have anything to do with this particular line of work? Okay, like I said, there's only 2 areas. 2 areas. Number 1. Oh, sorry, I got coffees. I drink a lot of coffee. I'm not homeless. Sometimes I dribble. So just ignore the stains. But anyhow, Citizen Edge had somebody else that failed. And he'd been talking about that. Honestly, with the way the United States is going right now and the stupidity that's going on with all of this nonsense that's going on, I do know there are probably a lot of people that do need a psychological evaluation. And I'm 100% sure you can actually ask questions directly related to this field of work, and you would be surprised how many people would still fail the psychological exam. Not one question was about this field or line of work or had anything to do with firearms except for those 2, which were completely indirectly related. Number 1, daydreaming on the job, daydreaming versus doing something constructive, or daydreaming doing this and that. Number 2, bending rules. Now, they didn't specify what kind of rules were bent, but they were like, oh, if you know somebody that knows how to bend the rules without, quote unquote, breaking the rules, okay, what would you do? And then it gives you 2 answers. Neither one of them are right. So you either pick the closest to the right answer, or I guess you pick the question mark in the middle. You get 3 answers, but the one in the middle is always that question mark, with the people taking the test in the background going, take this one, man. Take this one for the team. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know. My personal evaluation of the entire test is this test is 100% pure bullshit. I'm honestly thinking that they have what they call a possible quota. The only things that I think, and I got a feeling that they may have these particular questions, line of questions only, that if you select the wrong answer will disqualify you automatically. Doesn't matter if you got all the other questions right on this particular section. I'm assuming, because those are the only things that I can see that are anywhere closely related to exposed firearm permit or usage. Let's put it that way. And they're indirect, they're subtle. You would think they have nothing to do with it, but those two things. And daydreaming, I associate that with the complacency. And I actually got there a couple of times in my life, and I've regretted it. One time, as an example, I got complacent. I was a patrol officer, and I would go from site to site kicking out homeless people. Usually takes about 15, 20 minutes because they got to pack up all the crap. They yell at you, and then they throw a couple things at your car, and usually they miss, and then they sit down and call you all kinds of names as they start walking off the property. You wait for like 2 minutes after they're gone, and then you leave. Okay? You do that long enough, you expect the same thing from every single homeless person. Or, I'm sorry, transient. No. Home impaired people. I'm sorry, I got to be politically correct. But the one time I became complacent, thought he was going to do the same thing as everybody else. I'm sitting here telling him he has to move. He tells me, he gives me the fingers, tells me to call the cops like all of them do. So I radio it in. They tell me the cops will be there in about 3 to 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, I have to wait. So while I'm waiting, I go to turn the radio on and listen to the radio while he's getting all of his stuff together. And in this case, negligently, I left the window down. And I turned my face away from him while I was adjusting the radio. That complacency, as I came up, I was lucky it was only his fist. Could have been a knife. He could have started stabbing me, but he started punching me right in the face, right through the window. And though I didn't think the punches were hurting, I went ahead and grabbed the radio and called it in while he was still punching me in the face, and said, I am currently being assaulted. Can you tell these guys to hurry up? And then I let it go. And it was at that point that I realized I got complacent. That shouldn't happen. When they asked the questions about daydreaming, you would think, yeah, I daydream all the time while I'm in class and stuff. Sometimes you're in your job and you just start daydreaming. And while you're daydreaming, the people in behind you are getting mugged or the store's getting robbed, and you're like, yeah. I understand that part. The other one, breaking the rules. Let's say you're a security guard, right? Your coworker comes to relieve you. You guys go to the back room, and as you guys start exchanging, and all of a sudden I say, hey man, that's a nice gun. And then he's like, oh, you want to see it? He said, here, let me unload it real quick for you. I'll let you play with that for a second. So he does he removes the magazine, clears the Glock, takes a bullet, put it back in the magazine, and then makes sure it's clear. He checks it with me. Is it clear, etc. We're in the back room. Nobody's there but me and him. Technically we're not supposed to take it out, but we're in the safe area, and he did everything properly. So he lets me have the gun. I start playing with it. Yeah, that's been in the rules. Technically, he didn't break any because we're not outside, brandishing a weapon on everybody. So technically speaking, he can get away with it if I don't say anything. So that could be wrong because according to company policy, we're not supposed to withdraw our weapons unless we're going to use it. Well, in this particular case, we're in a back room, we're not doing anything, etc., and we're not really breaking any rules. But we are technically, right there in that gray area where we're not supposed to be, but we're not really, breaking the rules. Well, I understand that also. Technically, that's what they were getting at. They asked that question 4 different ways, 4 different words, and same question, but one word is changed in all 4 ways. But in all ways, they stress that you're not actually breaking rules. You're just bending the rules. Bending. But technically speaking, yes. That, I think, if you answer that one wrong, or any of those wrong, I'm 100% sure they're going to automatically fail you on that psych eval. Do I know the right answer? No. They didn't tell me what I got right or wrong. They just sent me this. Oh, and instead of waiting 3 months, they give this to you as soon as you leave. So if you pass, you'll know right away now instead of waiting 3 to 6 months. But they don't tell you exactly what areas you need to work on, or what you need to fix. No, I'm not psychologically imbalanced, but according to them, I am a threat to humanity. However, I do own weapons, and I do know how to handle them safely, and I've taught my kids how to properly handle and defend our property in case we have a home invasion or any other situation comes up. So, and we also go to the gun range and we practice safe handling and target practice every single week. I've been holding a stable job for the last 52 years. Kind of feel normal. Never had any issues with any employees. Never, had any spats. Never got into arguments with any of my employees. I've hated a couple of my bosses, but I never wanted to shoot them or kill them or maim them or do anything bad to them. The worst thing I did was when I was first out of high school, my first job. I had this one boss who was a real butthole, and I quit, and then I mooned him to the. Well, I'll leave that one. That was way back in 1989. I'll leave that part. Needless to say, being in security since 1989, knowing exactly what can and possibly would happen in a lot of situations, I was actually surprised I failed, because none of the questions made sense whatsoever, and none of them, with the exception of those two categories, actually had anything to do with the job itself of carrying a gun, except for those two sections, which I suspect is where, if you answer them wrong, I look at it this way. My personal advice, if I am correct, I'm only suspecting this. If you get to one of those type of questions, slow down, take your time, and look over that question and think about it carefully before answering, because I suspect that might be where if they answered this particular question wrong, they did disqualified automatically. Citizen Edge, this video is for you. Like I said, you can actually take this apart, section by section if you want. You don't have to play the whole video for everybody, or use it and ignore the stains. That's I drink lots of coffee. But if you find anything that's useful in this, feel free to use it on your videos if you want to clip it out. But yes, they now give you the answer, whether you passed or not, as soon as you're done with the test. And honestly, I didn't think I did that bad. I was thinking I was doing all the answers correctly. But apparently, I answered one of them, at least one of them wrong. And they do have what they classify as a math test towards the end. I think it's like 5 or 6 questions that they don't make no sense. I'll give you an example. One question says, what comes at the end of this statement? And it has a number like 1, 2, 0, 3, -1. What comes next? And then you get 2 answers and a question mark. I don't know. You got -4 or 5. Positive, either -4 or +5. Or question mark. Because I don't. What does that have to do with? I'll leave it at that. But anyhow, that's my experience today. My wife, she still needs to do psych eval. I have not had her take the test yet. She's afraid to now because this happened to me, and she doesn't think I'm crazy. Apparently, these guys do. Or, I don't know. Why would they give me this? Even though I've got almost a picture-perfect history. The worst thing I do is stream live and get drunk. And do stupid stuff on video. Well, if you go to my Twitch page, Clashing with God, you'll probably see what I'm talking about. But nothing as stupid as where I feel like I'm an endangerment to myself or somebody else if I have a gun. I've actually had a video where I actually cleaned my gun. I have black powder gun, regular Ruger P95 and Smith & Wesson. I clean those live while I'm streaming. Show everybody how to disassemble it, put it together. Gun safety right there. I don't sit there and go, I'm going to shoot you. I'm going to shoot you. Look at this. Look at that. No, I don't do any of that crap. You see these people on Twitch or on YouTube where they're talking like they're bad and they got these loaded guns, and all of a sudden they go off while they're doing that. No. First thing I do is I check, make sure it's definitely empty, take out the magazine, show the magazine whether there's ammo in there or not, and then I say, even if there's no ammo here, you want to pull this back, check, make sure there's nothing in there. Most likely, in some cases, I like my Ruger P95, I got one magazine that only holds 9 rounds. When I qualify, I need 10 rounds to do the qualification, so I have to put one into the chamber. Now, if I took the 9 rounds out, because I didn't shoot it, and I forgot about that one I put up there, unless I clear it. Well, anyhow, Citizen Edge, this is for you. Like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to mention it in your video, and I will definitely do a video response for you. All right? Talk to you soon. And keep up the good work, bro. I'm watching you. I thought I was following you, but I found out I did not follow you or subscribe to your channel. I did that. I did correct that. So I am now following you and subscribe to you. And I will get the alerts for any new videos that you come out with. Peace out, bro.